Hello! I'm so glad everyone is taking part in this little workshop that we get to do. I'm sorry that it has to be online, but it's okay. So my name is BREESA. I'm the owner of Bloom's Design House. Over the summer, I just moved my studio here to downtown Oceanside, and it's been a big adjustment during a pandemic, but without all my events that I'm used to doing, I needed to have some retail space, and so it's been a really positive move, and I'm very excited for how it's just grown in the past few months, especially during this time. So I'm grateful for all of you that are watching and excited to learn some tips and tricks. I did a workshop earlier this year in the springtime, and so some of you might recognize me, but yeah, I hope there's some new stuff you can learn. So I'm going to be doing 3 different arrangements. One is going to be a simple low centerpiece with types of flowers that you can grow or find in a grocery store, and just very easy, accessible flowers, but I want to show you ways to make it look a little bit more elevated. Then we'll be doing a side table arrangement. I learned about this from a customer who had called from the Pacific Northwest, and I guess they're very, very popular there. And it was a really cute idea. So I'll be showing you one of those, and then we'll do one that's more of a presentation style, something you would gift to somebody that has a little bit more specialty flowers in it. So first, I'll start with the easy low centerpiece. I wanted to show you how to start the base for this. I don't use any floral foam. It's just horrible for the environment. It's all made of microplastics. So I've worked this past year to get away from that and found my own system of chicken wire, moss, tape. You can kind of create that same effect in the same structure if you were to be using floral foam. So first, I'm taking a little sheet of chicken wire and balling it up here, and some floral tape. So this is a waterproof tape. It's basically a duct tape that's just really, really thin. So we'll start with that. You put the ball of chicken wire in and just do kind of an X over the top. I'm just using a cereal bowl. Super easy, nothing special, but they make really good bases because of their shape. Good vessels for the centerpieces, and they're nice and low. We don't want to create anything that's gonna sit just in our face while we're trying to look over the table at other people. So that's done. Tape, chicken wire, cereal bowl. Fill that up with water.
Hi. BREESA, do you want coffee?
Yeah. Yeah, thank
What do
you.
you want?
Just oat milk latte.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Sister-in-law.
Warm, right?
Brittany. Yeah, thank you. And then, let's see. So water, the thing with the water versus using a floral foam is it does get a little sloshy. So what I do is kind of line the base with Sphagnum Moss, or line the edge of the vessel. And it helps a little bit to keep that water from totally spilling around when you're moving it. It's very, very absorbent. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better to use than the floral foam. So it's like a little bed of that along the top. So for this arrangement, I have a stock, which is nice and fragrant. Alstroemeria, very long lasting. Lisianthus, again, very long lasting. Iris, I'm gonna use the sweet peas for the next arrangement. spray carnations. So it's a carnation, it's very basic, but they come in really amazing colors right now, and the spray variety are very sweet and delicate. Then I have some Cottage Yarrow, and we'll use some greenery. So for this arrangement, I'm going to use my electrician shears. I talked about this during the spring workshop. These are amazing. They cut like scissors if you're going to cut ribbon. They also are really great for cutting flowers through the stems, and they have this little notch to cut wire with. So if you are using the chicken wire, using that speeds up the process. So what I do, since we are doing some holiday themed stuff, start with some foliage branches for the evergreen. Just cut off some good pieces here. And I usually work in 3s or odd numbers in general. So I start with what I want the overall shape to look like. With centerpieces, I usually go for something like a U shape. So putting out these longer pieces after stripping the stems, which is very important with any type of foliage or flowers you're using. So just go in at an angle to create that first arm. Getting it to stick with the first few pieces is a little trickier, but stick there. And then I don't want it completely balanced, like a mirror image of each other on each side of the arrangement. I just find it more visually pleasing if you have asymmetrical balance. So making it heavier on one side with the foliage, but we'll balance that out with a different type of foliage or heavier flowers. So there we go. Then I'll put in something that's a little bit more solid. The Magnolia is really good. It takes up a lot of space and offers some mass there. You can find it at a store, you can find it outside. So just chunks of that. And let's see, that'll be good for another arrangement. And I have some of this. I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's a type of eucalyptus. I could be completely wrong, but it's pretty. So again, just going for that U shape, really focusing on the edges right now. And then now that that's nice and full, I'm going to put a focus more on the middle of the base. So one easy thing to do pop a pine cone right there. And we're gonna work around it, so we're gonna kind of create our own structure for it. Yeah, it looks holiday-ish, very little effort. Okay, so we'll start with the alstroemeria because those are the biggest mass of flowers. I like to peel off all of the leaves up the stem and then even sort of at the crown right here, because for the centerpiece, we're gonna be cutting them low enough that we don't want those in water. So my trusty little electrician shears, size it up, and I usually start with something spilling over each side, and that helps cover any of the mechanics. That's another thing the moss is great for. It covers up the tape and the chicken wire. And I'm using a clear bowl just so you can see a little bit of the mechanics and how everything will look inside. You can use something that's not see-through if you don't like the look of the stems and the moss. And then when I'm working in 3s, I normally put 2 of this type of flower and then 1 balancing the other side. So here's 1 alstroemeria, here's another, nice and low. And you can kind of create a river with them. That's what's fun about the spray style flowers that have multiple stems or blooms on each stem. Get rid of this leaf. So now I have one alstroemeria pouring this way. I'm going to put one on the alternating side. So that we have a little bit of a balance, but again, it's not matching mirror image. Now that I have some pretty good coverage here over the top, you really can't see any of the mechanics. I'm gonna go for what I call the butterflies of the arrangement, the pieces that float above and really bring your eye from above the arrangement down into where the mass of it is. So stock have some pretty fun shaped stems with little curves. I usually use them and curve inwards. So putting anything that curves outwards like this, it's gonna kind of look like it's a dead flower or that it doesn't have enough water. If we pull it this way so that it is curving upwards, we're just really focusing on the dynamic shape that it has. So putting those on one side of the U. Putting another one down lower that's a little bit heavier in shape. And then crossing over the arrangement to have something alternating. Then I do have some red roses. So these, I just really want these as an accent. And my favorite thing to do with the roses is reflex. That just opens them up. You'll pop open the petals and it makes them look like they've grown on a vine, but you really don't get to appreciate the fullness of roses if they're just how they look when you're at the grocery store, because they're just not going to open like a garden rose. These are all grown in greenhouses. So to really appreciate it, I feel like you need to do some manual labor. But it really makes a difference. So you can see that, how it just looks a lot more special now. So cutting, and roses, yes, cut at an angle. Everyone asks, that gives more surface area for getting water into the stem. So one on the back side of the arrangement, and then we'll do the other down low on your side of the arrangement. Oops, I'm peeling off some petals. That's okay, there's plenty. We'll go in here. Another way to make this look more like a natural garden rose is once you've peeled back a good amount of the petals, pulling out the center petals lets you see that pollen inside, and just another way to look more natural. So cutting that short and putting that on the other end. Then here's the spray carnations, which I think are so fun. The colors they're coming up with are pretty amazing now. So just snapping that, having that as a focal point up above the arrangement, taking a few more stems, tucking them down lower, and then adding a third to balance out on the opposing side. Oops. Since I have a little extra from that same stem, I'll cut that, put it down low. So this is nice and full now. You can see even from a small vessel like a bowl, you get a pretty good size arrangement. Then I'm going to have a few accents of the iris. Usually I'll put the more bloomed one down lower because that's how it works on a bush. So we'll start with the more bloomed one lower, it's a little heavier, and then putting the bud a little bit higher. And unlike the floral foam, with the chicken wire, you can pull flowers out, move them around without damaging anything. So that's got that nice U shape. Maybe a little bit of the Cottage Yarrow. I also have a very hard time stopping my arrangements. I'll just keep going. But I liked that other layer in there. And then one special flower, my favorite this time of year, are the paper whites. These narcissus smell like heaven. And just tuck that in. There you go. This is all stuff that you can find at Trader Joe's, Sprouts, any grocery store, out and about. Oh, I found one more narcissus. I can't help myself, so we'll put another one in. So playing with the negative space by creating that U, instead of doing all the flowers packed really tightly together, which I completely appreciate that style as well, this allows you to focus more on each individual flower and just see how it all comes together. So that's one of the centerpieces. Now I'm gonna go to the side table.